Well, good evening, everybody. It is Friday night, which means it is anime talk time, anime news time, anime discussion time. We're here with our tea, which is still cooling to a non-nuclear temperature. Nuclear, not nuclear. I like the nuclear pronunciation. Been watching some anime this week. Been reading some manga, which is cool. Just chugging through some stuff. Finally read the first three volumes of Kare Kano this week, His and Her Circumstances, which I'm a massive, massive fan of the original anime. Just devoured that when it came out over here, and it's interesting going back to the manga because a lot of folks consider the manga to be superior. And I gotta say, I mean, I hear the name, I hear the voices of the anime characters, I hear the music from the anime series. The manga is certainly very, very appealing. It's a really strongly, made manga series. A lot of variety of art style and such. But I gotta admit, the anime captured it all. Like the anime of His and Her Circumstances feels like His and Her Circumstances. Like it's obviously they are not the same because of anime versus manga adaptation. Although I will say I do like how the anime series rearranged the manga a bit. There's a little romance story that comes near the beginning that isn't connected to anything else, and it kind of pushed that away and surged forward with the regular story instead. And I think that's actually a fundamentally better way of pacing the story, because I think it needed that momentum. I think with that side story, it really kind of slowed down and felt kind of, why are we talking about this right now? That worked particularly well. So read some of that. Read some of Hikatsu, which I talked about on the Discord for a little bit. Really fun shonen manga. Goofy shonen manga series. I feel like there was something else on the pile that I got through, although I'm not seeing it on the shelves off the top of my head. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Been reading Arifureta. Cool. Heard good things about Arifureta. Got some news this week. I know that Rise of the Shield Hero is getting a seasons 2 and 3. And apparently the original storyline is really strong. And so hopefully we'll be able to adapt and get all that storyline in the anime, which would be pretty cool. Excuse me. It has been another long week, I will admit. We've got a pretty stressful couple of weeks here as we start up this cohort of students. Starting to get a little easier as we find a rhythm, but still, there's been a lot of stress to deal with 60 students all to manage and to handle. But it's about 9:05, so we can go ahead and get started with the news. Except I forgot to set up my little thing. So 1 second, that's gonna chime for us. And then, oh, that's right, I'm having the weird keyboard thing. I don't know if I can, 1 second. My tablet's got this weird thing where it won't pull up the keyboard. Gotta pull up that. Okay, that seems fine. Okay. And then we need oh, hello, focus. Focus, there we are. Nearing the end. That's always frustrating when there's all that material to cover, but and you cover a huge amount of the material, and you feel like, I'm kind of done. So sad. So 1 second while I... Oh, actually I can... open link. Will that do what I want it to do? It will. Nice. Oh, but not really the way I want to do it. One moment while I pull some other things up. I always forget when when I don't have the full news set up. I have to do a little bit more clicking around. Keep doing that. So hopefully I will get this. There we go, and then that. All right, I think we have all the items needed for the news. It doesn't seem... Oh, dang it. Hold on. I got all backwards. That goes somewhere else. Hold on. Sorry, my tab decided to open up in a pseudo random order. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. That goes over here. Kibukuro. That goes over here, I guess. Okay, I think we got them in order now. All right. All right, we'll see. That does what? And then that. Sorry, hold on. And then. Why did this get moved over here? This is so strange. I got bounced all over the place. Okay, I think we're good now. Alright, cool. Let's get this done. Evening, Mike. Ooh. Some stuff hanging down there, feels like. Yeah. Okay. And welcome back to the anime news for the week ending September 6th, 2019, starting with news about the manga service Manga Rock, which provided a whole bunch of manga, and then a bunch of folks involved in it, allegedly involved with it, got arrested. Well, we now have heard that they have revealed to the website JCast News that they will be shutting down. The website's still accessible and the app's still up, so I don't know when it's going to happen. However, their website and their Facebook page are down, and of course, Facebook is life, so that says a lot. The people involved, Not a Basement Studio, said that they started this as a project when the staff were college students and gathered scanlations that were already released. So they were basically saying, oh, and here's a quote: "At the time, we didn't understand the manga industry, and we didn't know the origin of the scanlations, including things without official license. As time has passed, we've come to understand the damage being incurred by manga creators and publishers. Moreover, as our popularity increased, the damage also increased. Therefore, we are deeply reflecting on our role in accelerating the popularity of scanlations, and we give our heartfelt apologies." In other words, they got caught. And now they are revealing that and kind of talking about all that. So that's kind of, okay, fair enough. But the service will apparently get shut down thanks to the action of police and some of the major Japanese publishers who kind of went after them. So apparently, actually going after these folks really worked. Moving on, a bunch of new anime announced this week. We're about a month out from the next season, so we tend to get a lot of new shows announced, which is cool. We do know that Gen Urobuchi of Madoka Magica and other things, as well as the Fate Zero novels and Fate Stay Night visual novel and such, they're working on a new scenario for a hardcore... He is working on a new scenario for a hardcore mecha work, which is currently titled Project O. Probably means it'll be a title with O at the front. We'll see. No news about the format of the new work, just hardcore mecha. Could be a game, could be anime, could be, who knows, maybe a novel. But that's pretty exciting to see what Urobuchi would bring to that. Whoever knows. Moving on, there's an announcement of a new Pokemon anime called Pocket Monsters, i.e. the name of Pokemon originally in Japan. It'll be a new show including all the Pokemon in all of the main games so far, from Red and Blue all the way up to the upcoming a new one, Sword and Shield. So that's pretty exciting. That we'll have a new anime series with all those things. I don't believe there's any news beyond that. The teaser just showed a bunch of different Pokemon, sliding across. And September 29th, we will get a reveal of more information during the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime series. Other than that, who knows? Will Ash come back as a 10-year-old? Let's be honest, probably. Let's see here. We have also an announcement of a new Junji Ito adaptation. His manga Uzumaki is getting adapted into an anime series. It'll be a mini-series made at Production IG, which is pretty exciting. Directed by Hiroshi Nagahama, who directed a little show called Mushishi. So that'll be pretty darn cool. Also cool knowing that it'll be released on Toonami in the United States before it hits Japan. Wow. And the music will be composed by Colin Stetson, who worked on a thing called Hereditary, which I'm actually not sure of. So that's pretty darn cool. New Junji Ito, and coming to Cartoon Network first. Kind of surprising. Moving on, a new Astro Boy anime called Go Astro Boy Go. Although this time it shouldn't be quite as depressing as before because it is aimed squarely at preschool children. It'll launch on TV Tokyo on a new time slot aimed at preschoolers called Preschool Time. It'll run every Thursday for half an hour during the 6 o'clock time block, basically. And the description of the show is as follows. The ecosystems of planet Earth are endangered. Lucky for us, a superpowered robot boy is flying to the rescue. Astro is on a mission to help anyone anywhere in the world with any problem involving natural phenomena. Go, little Astro Boy, go. So it sounds like an environmental science kind of a show with Astro Boy flying in to help people with some cute orange-haired girl and a blue cat person and whatever. But hey, new Astro Boy is pretty cool. Hereditary is a good horror movie. They came out not that long ago. Thank you, Kevin Trotter. That's good to know. So yeah, more Astro Boy coming in, sort of a Powerpuff Girls-esque feel, which is kind of interesting. New information on Pompo the Cinephile. There's an anime adaptation already announced for that, but we didn't know exactly what. It's going to be an anime film. There was an ad streamed by Kadokawa to commemorate the release of the second volume of the manga. So this is pretty darn quick for it to get an anime adaptation. The thing is, the first volume came out in 2017, so it's been kind of a slow release. It'll be animated by CLAP, C-L-A-P, and the producer will be Ryuichiro Matsuo, who produced In This Corner of the World. So that's pretty impressive. It's basically a manga about the craft of movie making, which focuses on a movie producer who also happens to look like a girl. And is kind of a movie buff. So that's pretty cool. We will see how that works out, but it looks like a fun concept for an anime and an anime film. Also announced a new anime called Ikebukuro Westgate Park, which was a novel series, new TV anime premiering in 2020. It'll be produced by the same producer as New Game and How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift. It's a mystery novel series set in Ikebukuro Ward of Tokyo, and centers on a fruit vendor who is a troubleshooter, helping his friend with solving various incidents. There are 13 novels already in the series. Pretty crazy. With the 13th shipping this week. There's a popular live-action series in 2000 and a popular special in 2003. Manga adaptation of 4 volumes. So that's pretty darn cool that we'll be getting more of that. Not too many full-scale mystery series in anime, so that'll be kind of nice. Let's see here. Also announced Gal Tokyoryu. an anime and a live action project coming from that, both premiering in April of 2020. It's about a gyaru, a Japanese girl who dresses up in sort of modern fashion and looks very distinctive, usually bleached blonde hair. Begins when this gyaru named Kaede picks up a dinosaur and begins living with it in her room. The dinosaur eats human food, watches TV, and even enjoys being fashionable. So it seems like a weird, fun little story. Launched by a married couple in Kodansha's Young magazine last October, and the first compiled book came out April 5th. So again, pretty quick adaptation, and will be coming here pretty darn soon. So that's April 2020. So I mean that's 6 months away, but still not bad. No, 6 months away. No, like 9 months away. Anyway, whatever. More anime, not a bad thing. Also announced, this is kind of an odd one, a crowdfunding promotion was launched for a VR anime of Teasing Master Takagi-san, also known as, where did this one go? 1 second. I don't have the notes for this. Hold on. Just a second. Sorry. I got it. We got there. So if you've heard of Karakai Jozu no Takagi-san, also known as Teasing Master Takagi-san, this crowdfunding effort is looking for about $140,000 to produce a VR anime for the Oculus Quest. The crowdfunding is running until October 10th, and it will be in the viewpoint of Nishikata, and basically you will be teased by Takagi. The anime came out, I think, last season or the season before. It'll recreate notable scenes from the original manga and anime, and you can go, be there either at school or at the beach. So, hey, if you want to be teased by Takagi-san, that is a potential for you. That's a new anime coming. Also, some other announcements. 1 second. There we go. Not quite anime, but a live action stop motion anime of Haikyuu was included in the DVD bundle, or will be included in the DVD bundle for the 42nd volume of Haikyuu. It'll be 10 short episodes, featuring the team as puppets. And so it's an original story, exclusively for the DVD, written by the script supervisor for the anime adaptation. And so you're going to get a stop-motion version of Haikyuu. Personally, I love stop-motion, so I'd love to see this when it comes out. Hopefully it's fun. That'll come out on March 4th, 2020, so a little while to wait. But yeah, stop-motion anime, kind of cool. If you count that anime, right? Whatever. Speaking of, cool new anime dropped this week called Jurassic. It's an animation by a bunch of young talents at Toei Animation. There's been a big deal over the past 10 years or so about trying to get more new talent into the anime industry and kind of get them out of the trenches of those early years and really feature that new young talent. And Jurassic looks like it's one of those projects. It is based on a series of picture books about dinosaurs, and so this is a sort of a riff on that book series. Think of it as almost like a Makoto Shinkai sort of short film. It's also a little Mamoru Hosoda as well. There's just a really fun vibe to the whole thing, very colorful, and just this really fun little 1 minute short. So check that out, the Jurassic anime by Toei Animation. Really fun thing that dropped this week. So that's all the news for this week. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back next week with more news. So that's that. So yeah, getting a lot of anime announcements now that, of course, obviously it's time for all of those new anime announcements. I'm going to be doing, as always, and I got to schedule that out actually, when I can do the next all Saturday anime watching thing. Although I don't know how I'm going to do it now that we don't have Rabbit. I guess I can do it on Watch Together. Kind because it was fun doing it on Rabbit, but we never got a huge number of people tuning in. So for those not familiar, every season on one Saturday, I sit down and I watch the first episode of all the new anime coming out, and I try to stream that on a service like Rabbit or whatever. And so we'll try to do that again this time around. When does the new season start? Let's check out live chart. Fall 2019. Let's see here. Let's not include leftovers. October, so early October. So we're looking at probably like mid-October to do that. A lot of stuff dropping. So October 7th, October 10th. Yeah, so I guess maybe the 12th of October. Cool. I'm clear that Saturday, and it's the Columbus Day weekend, so that's cool. At least here in the U.S. So good. That'll give us some good time. No Guns Life, Fate Grand Order. Second season of We Never Learn. Fairy Gone second season. Oh, we want to catch up on that one then. Psycho-Pass 3. Grand Blue Fantasy Season 2. See if anything kind of leaps out at me. It's always hard to tell. Beastars. A furry anime, which we don't get too many of those. High Score Girl 2, excuse me. Pet, it's like a horror anime. Hoshai no Sora, that looks interesting. Chihayafuru 3, cool. ZX Code Reunion. Rifle is Beautiful. Oh, a rifle shooting anime. Interesting. Katakawa Jet Girls, a jet ski anime. Nice. Africa no Salaryman. A lion, a toucan, and a lizard live the lives of office workers. That's pretty cool. There's Go-Go Atom. Go-Go Astro Boy. Aikatsu on Parade. Idol anime looks like. Again, I never can tell until I actually sit down and watch the shows whether they're going to be my thing. Kono Oto Tomare. What is that? Are they playing biwa? Weird. It's like a music club where they're all playing like traditional Japanese instruments. Huh. I'll have Azure Lane. Looks like a what was that show where the girls are all battleships? Forget off the top of my head. Girls fight strong enemies. Looks like that kind of a thing. Who knows? More Sky in October, of course. That's always the thing. Of course, Academia season 4. That'll probably be the big one that everyone loses their minds over. Another SAO series. Second half of Alicization. Yeah, looks like a fun season. Kandai Collection. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of. Let's go ahead and get to the anime history. See if we can get the focus working again. Focus. Because this was quite a week for anime history, actually. Come back here. Yeah. I don't have a starter for anime history, do I? No. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Get some tea in me first, though. Yeah. Nothing like some good tea. All right. Oh, cool. A new Isao Takahata documentary coming out. That's cool, Thrash Fingers. Good to know. Thank you for letting us know about that. Welcome to the anime history of the week for the week ending September 6th, 2019. Going all the way back to 1972, we have the founding of Studio Sunrise. This is an interesting one. We don't know the exact date, actually. It kind of depends on who you ask. But Sunrise was actually founded by a group of animators that had worked worked over in other studios, and were kind of frustrated by how autocratic a lot of those other studios were, where there was one person who came up with all the ideas and kind of directed everyone else and kind of told everyone exactly what to do. And in addition, there were a lot of problems at the time with the prevailing mecha anime and this sort of rise of mecha anime. And they said, let's basically specialize in animating mecha, but also be a studio where we can all work together, and that our shows are all done as a group with, sort of group dynamics and different people allowed to offer their voice and their ideas. And as a result, if you watch a Sunrise series, in the planning or concept section of the credits, they will always list Hajime Yatate, which is a little nickname they have, which basically means all of us. So Hajime Yatate is the moniker for the fact that everyone at the studio gets involved in planning and helping out with these shows. Obviously, maybe not everyone all in one meeting, but you get the idea, which is pretty darn cool. Also, this week, not as happy of a thing. September 1st, 1923 was the Great Kanto earthquake. This was a massive earthquake that killed hundreds of thousands of people, destroyed massive amounts of property, and was responsible for a number of things. It was kind of the death knell for traditional Japanese clothing in Japan for safety reasons. A lot of people, because they were wearing kimono, a lot of women and children could not escape the Great Kanto earthquake and the dangers that were happening and fires and so forth because of those restrictive clothing. So you saw a big sea change in the amount of Western clothing post the Great Kanto earthquake. Also, as a result, ever since then, September 1st has become Disaster Preparedness Day in Japan, where people make sure that all of their disaster preparedness is up to go. They have a bug out bag or what have you. And a lot of the fire departments and such hold drills on this day and invite the public in to go through various emergency preparedness procedures. So, the good news in that sense is that it has resulted in a society that is very much prepared for when those disasters strike. Moving on to happier history. September 4th, 1963, we got Sennin Burako, which I'm sure you've never heard of. I didn't hear of it until I started digging into anime history. This was the first late night anime. It aired around midnight in September of 1963. Astro Boy was it just aired this year, so it was a little it was still early in the era of anime, and this is sort of a risque manga adapted into anime. It's about two monks in a monastery, of which the younger one is rather amorous with three sisters nearby, sort of pursuing the love of these various three sisters, much to the annoyance of the head monk. So, sort of a romantic comedy, basically, but aired, late nights in Japan, and really started the whole late night thing way back in the early 60s. Can you imagine that? So, late night anime has been around for quite a long time. So, anyway, that is the history of the week, and I hope you've enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching. Kind of interesting, isn't it? That we got... I had no idea that late night anime went back that long. Now, obviously, until the 90s, there were only a few scattered of those late night anime. It was not a common thing. We're drinking more kinds of tea for Hobby Hopper. That's cool, Jay. Good idea. So Isao Takahata coming up, Japanese art documentary. That's interesting. I hope it covers a lot of Takahata's works, because the more I dig into his oeuvre, the more I realize that he really adapted himself to different things. Anne of Green Gables is not like, My Neighbors the Yamadas, which is not like Princess Kaguya, compared to, say, Miyazaki, who is much more kind of consistent stylistically throughout the ages, and that's not a complaint. It's just those are different, different views on things, different approaches to storytelling and artwork. I still think Takahata is kind of the animator's animator. He knew what he was doing and did some really incredible, amazing stuff. He is sorely missed. And I think if you like anime for its animation, Takahata is kind of the person to go to. He was one of the masters of the form. We've done the news. We've done the anime history. Speaking of Hobby Hopper, let's do this. This should be fun. So I'm going to see how this goes. I believe I have permission from all of these folks. And I'm just going to double check here real quick. And then jump to there. One sec. Stream, would that be a thing? Start stream early. I may just talk about that Raymond Chow thing here on the stream instead of doing a whole video about it. That was kind of weird. So Brad's okay with it. Sirius is okay with it. Okay, 1 second, and we can do this. Yeah. And we will see how this goes. Cool. Let me see if I can transition here. And hey JJ, good to see you. So we're about to do some Hobby Hopper stuff. Hopefully this will be fun. So let's see how this works. So that's there. Nope. How do I transition? 1 sec. Use hotkeys. I need to set some hotkeys. All right, hold on. Wait. We're getting something. That's not what I wanted. Wait. Transition. Binding size aspect ratio. Okay, that's better. And then I need to do that. I need to set up what my hotkeys are. Okay, we'll get there. Basically, I've pulled, so this is sketching month on Hobby Hopper. And I wanted to go ahead and show you guys some of that stuff. But I don't know their settings. Where are my hotkeys? Applause. Where is that? Where'd that go? Oh, I need to set. Next. Previous? Let's see if that works. Okay. All right. So, this is some work from Brad. Check this out. Ooh, maybe I can do actually a little bit of. Let me see if I can throw myself in here as well. So if I pull in that, there we go. So let's talk a little bit about Hobby Hopper. This is some eyes from Brad, and then if we're lucky, there we go. Lovely sketch of an anime character. Love the curl of the hair. Love the, the outfit. Love the bionic arm. I love how it's, doing the thing. Like it's not just holding its. That's really cool. We got this really cool sort of elven character, Sylvan character, with the piercings Really cool. Love how it's a little soft, a little, you know, it's not a character that's trying to punch you or that's really threatening. It's a more laid back character. Really cool. Had to put a little censoring on this one, but my goodness. Another couple of sketches there. Love the little cat girl there. That's really cool. Fawns, definitely. Hey, Mike. Good to see you. And here is, I love the little cat character too. That's really cool. Got some stuff from Siros here as well. Some basic sketches. Siros is working on just, playing around a little bit. It's really cool. But yeah, really fun. Mike, would you mind if we showed your drawings here on the stream? We can certainly do that for Hobby Hopper. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, it's been really cool seeing folks put things together. Not to mention Book of Friends kind of ref there. That's cool. Can you show a drawing? Okay, sweet. 1 second. You can pull those in. May have to. All right, so we transition back. So I think I have to transition. So we go through Brad's. Here's Siros. Oh wait, why isn't it pulling it? 1 second. Maybe do I have to like re reference it or something? Select folder. Okay. Let's see if I can see if reselecting the folder re-grabs the images. There we go. So it got rotated. You see a great sketch of a guitar and a end table. I love the mirror there that's reflecting the end table. That's really cool. A quick little sketch of Tears of Blood. Really neat. And just some random sketches. Bits and people playing around with rainbow, such like that. Pretty cool. Living room. Nice. Got a sketchbook to keep in the car. That's a really good idea, actually. Really good idea. Yeah, I need to do stuff like this. I need to do more, just a bunch of eyes, nail down some eye ideas, so to speak. Some ideas. So yeah, if you want to join us, we'll be doing that over the course of September. We'll just be playing around with drawing. Try to draw something every day. That's the key to most hobbies, is to keep doing them. If I get more things kind of nailed down in my life, I'd love to start building in things to say, okay, I'm also going to, do poetry regularly, maybe not every day, but, keep up with the hobbies. We'll see. Maybe do like a poem every Saturday and every Sunday. It might not be a bad idea. To kind of keep up that thing. Or maybe like Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday, something along those lines. So once in the middle of the week and then twice on the weekend. Just to keep up those skills, That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, I definitely want to try drawing every single day once we go through this as best I can. And we'll be posting prompts on the Discord as well if folks can or want to join us on that. That would be pretty darn cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Being part of a group of people who are doing something is inspiring. It is fun to have a bunch of people around to be involved with. They will probably start Monday. Yeah, I haven't entered them in yet. So like if I get really on the ball and enter a bunch tomorrow, then they'll start on Sunday. But otherwise, they'll probably start on Monday. That is the plan. And as Brad suggested, they'll be kind of broad. It'll be action poses, or it'll be nature, or it'll be maybe a little more specific than that. But it won't be. Do some fan art from Evangelion, right? Might just be fan art or what have you. It's pretty cool. Oh, that's interesting, Mike. So yeah, even once you're done, you're like, okay, yeah, poetry is a thing I can do now. That's a really good point. It's actually one of the reasons for the 3D printers is that once I got a 3D printer and I had it, it became a lot easier to say, oh, I'm going to print a thing, I have a D&D game coming up. Let me print a mini for that. Let me work on it, kind of keep those skills up. That's the thing, JJ, is anyone can draw. Anyone can do anything. You know, a square is a drawing. And I sucked when I first started on this. I truly, truly sucked. If you go to brentnewhall.deviantart.com and scroll all the way to the back, you'll see some of my early drawings, and oof. And I've actually been drawing for a little while when I posted some of those, but I bad. Bad does not begin to describe it. But it's all practice. It's all practice. Yeah, I want to draw monsters too for like D and D and such, and I'm really that's really rough for me. I can like copy fan art and such, you know, not great, but make it fairly close. But replicating, you know, the three dimensionality of a beast of some kind, I'm not good at that at all. I think in lines very much. When I'm drawing, I am doing outlines and such. That is just how my brain works. Yeah. Yeah. It's okay to draw like a preschooler at this point. Just practice. Drawing for the flavor, nice, and the richness, yes. You draw some Yamato ships. That's awesome. That's another skill I do not have is drawing like highly defined things, you know, hard edged things, where it's like that requires perspective. That'd actually be a good thing to do this on Hobby Hopper. Actually, is some perspective drawing, some draw a ship or a vehicle of some kind. Try to get those down. I do know a lot of my drawing books. They really focus on trying to get you to draw movement. Draw somebody who is walking and just really quickly sketch the overall, the blobs that you see. In just like 5 seconds, get down the basics of that pose. That'd be an interesting thing. Maybe go on YouTube and find. There's got to be a bunch of. There's got to be YouTube videos of people just, walking past the camera or something of just motion reference basically of characters. That'd be pretty cool. I have some reference of just still people in various poses, which is cool. But that motion reference would be interesting because you don't want just shots from a movie where the camera's moving all over the place, and in a John Wick movie that there's a lot of camera movement. From what little I've seen. So yeah, figuring out how to convey movement has got to be a thing. So you know what? Let's real quick. Oh, see, I can't. This is always annoying. So if I go here, desktop, and then I do a window capture, and I go over to Chromie. Yeah, you can do that. Let's see here. Let's just go to YouTube. I don't want any of the live bet dashboards. What are we looking for? We're looking for motion reference for drawing. Models in motion. Oh, some of this is not safe for work, which is funny because it's on YouTube. But it looks like yes, there is some stuff, but I cannot show it to you. That's funny. Okay, don't want to get blocked. Whoopsie. But good to know. Good to know that's a thing. So yeah, you can find motion, motion reference on YouTube. It's just everyone's naked, which is good, right? Oh, interesting. Nature docs, and there are a bunch of that. There's the Norwegian slow TV, where they'll just put a camera on a train for 10 hours or do drone footage for hours and hours. So that'd be good too, to just do that. Stop somewhere and just do a quick sketch of that mountain or whatever that you're seeing. That's a cool idea. Kind of like the old Hokusai, was it like 66 views of Mount Fuji, however many views of Mount Fuji he did. Just different landscapes within view of Fujisan. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, apparently that sort of motion drawing is one of the ways in which they teach animators at Disney how to animate. They say you have to start by just learning how to get the basic, shapes of movement down, like really, really quickly. And then once you can see the motion, once you can see the overall motion of the shapes, then you can start thinking in terms of animation, thinking in terms of how those shapes are moving over time. But you're just sketching, these blobs of legs and arms and so forth. Really interesting. So, Jay, I know you had some stuff you want to talk about tonight. Said you had some themed topics you wanted to talk about. Oh, neat. Overhead projectors, and then making more detailed. That's interesting. I know they did some really interesting stuff on, movies like Wizards. A lot of the Ralph Bakshi stuff. Did some interesting stuff with rotoscoping and other tricks to try to get art done. Is this a guy killing or weakening the fantasy genre? Not killing, definitely. I could see an argument for weakening in the sense that you never really get fantasy series. You just get an isekai set in a pretty generic fantasy series. I will say fantasy in anime has always been, well, I was going to say weak, but it's also been weak generally in like America too. We have the curse of Tolkien, where nobody will do fantasy about crystal powered clockwork mecha, right? It's always elves and dwarves and swords and rings of power. We've gotten very traditional with our fantasy most of the time. But then also, again, you look at the history of fantasy in anime, and it also has been pretty generic. There aren't a lot of things. Alcazar leaps to mind as being a pretty out there fantasy franchise. I'm trying to think of others. Tenchi Muyo technically, but it's really science fantasy. Right? It's science fiction melded with fantasy. But yeah, I can't think of a lot of other like really wild. If you guys can think of some like really wild cheat anime, wild a wild anime, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think you could argue that because isekai is a popular genre, folks are just kind of churning on that. And the problem with isekai is that you have to have both the protagonist and the fantasy world, and you can't spend too much time on that fantasy world and kind of fleshing it out. Because you also need that time to understand the character and his unique situation and all this. So that's kind of hard. Do I want a Western version of Aura Battler Dunbean? Wow. No, but I want a remake of Aura Battler Dunbean. I want a high-budget fantasy mecha anime. Castles and princesses, and mecha. I really want that. I think that's one of my ideals. I actually wrote a children's book, like a book for tweens, like a young adult book technically. It's like a middle reader's book, called Giant Armors, or Armors. Like it was Armors set in the Giant Armors universe, if you will. Put that up on Kindle a while back. Can fantasy still be used in combination with other genres? It always can, but it does feel like we don't really do that anymore. That was pretty common back in the 90s. We got those, again, sort of space fantasy or science fantasy universes like Tenchi Muyo. I haven't seen it, but what I've seen of Saber Marionette J, the Saber Marionette universe feels like that science fantasy. We got some, like Steel Angel Kurumi was definitely sci-fi, but it's sort of a modern sci-fi thing. Utena meets Gundam. That would, the boy, there's an idea. Escaflowne is definitely big budget fantasy mecha. You're right. So I want more of that. Gate did it well. Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, I think fantasy can be combined with other genres, and work well. I don't know if it's going to be successful. I think it's really hard. I think it's hard to cross two genres any time you're trying to do that. It's hard to do sci-fi detective, you know, comedy noir. All these things are really tough. So I think it would be really interesting to do though. But the other part of that problem too is like my definition of fantasy is pretty darn broad. Dream Hunter Rem is fantasy. I'm trying to think of some more. Mushishi is fantasy. There are a lot of things that are not elves and dwarves fantasy. It's definitely fantasy. So that's kind of the trick. And there's certainly plenty of anime with kind of supernatural elements that would qualify, right? Kamichu is fantasy. That anime series from last year of the girl who is sent as like a sacrifice to the spirit world and is going to marry this guy and he's kind of a jerk. That's the thing. Yeah, that's fantasy, right? Yeah, how to monetize that, and I think the ironic thing is that fantasy is pretty easy to monetize because fantasy gives you, a medieval world with a lot of different angles into it that you can monetize. You monetize the characters, you monetize the weapons, you monetize the monsters, but we don't see it that much. And then again, oddly enough, this is the thing I always find weird. Where is the anime dungeon crawl? Like the classic D&D-esque, we are adventurers going through, this giant complex underneath a castle. There's plenty of anime that reference it. Plenty of anime that kind of has that as an episode. But it's really, really rare. Rune Soldier Louis did it, but that was a comedy. I would love just an full-scale anime dungeon crawl action series. When we get it, it's a flavoring on a comedy. From what I've seen, the girl, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Is like that. Well, yeah, that's kind of what they're doing, but it's more jokes layered on top of that concept. Heck, Girls Last Tour is pretty much that dungeon crawling, but it's sci-fi. So it's kind of interesting. Tower of Duraga, true. Tower of Duraga does it. But it's interesting that we don't get a lot of it. We don't get a lot of like that classic thing. Arfaretta? I totally agree, Jay. I think, and it's the funny thing is that anime at its best has always been genre busting. No one was doing near future cyberpunk-y gritty stuff before Akira did that. I mean, obviously, there were little bits of it here and there, but Akira did that, and suddenly that's what was the thing, and then we got a bunch of that. No one was doing grounded, serious, thoughtful cyberpunk before Ghost in the Shell. And Ghost in the Shell is a very specific kind of cyberpunk. It is not, the typical kind of a thing. And when you look back at all of these big shows, they have generally been things that do break genre and do interesting things, and do explore weird concepts. And they are very successful. Of course, granted, for every one of those, there are 10 that fail, that are equally interesting or that are equally genre busting, but they suck for whatever reason. But yeah, and like I said, I've always been kind of saddened that we don't get more explorations of stuff. I'm currently reading one of the Drizzt novels, sort of the Drizzt origins. Drizzt Do'Urden, one of the most famous D&D characters of all time at this point. And it's all about the world of the Drow, the Dark Elves, who are terrible, terrible people. It is a horrible, abusive society. And it's kind of interesting exploring what it is like living in this really twisted society and what you do to survive and the compromises you make to do that and how it kind of perpetuates the evil. And it'd be really interesting to see an anime series where just everybody is chaotic evil. Actually, no, Drow are lawful evil, but where everybody is just a terrible person, but you are watching people who are less terrible than other people, and how they're trying to navigate this society and how trying to make the least bad decision, the least worst decision. That'd be really interesting, but we just don't see that kind of thing a lot. Right, and that's the thing is that it's all about money. Everything's all about money, and I don't mean that in a particularly negative sense, but anime is expensive, and you gotta pay your bills. So how do you jump that hurdle? Original Gundam had the advantage that over time its fans sought it out and paid for it. In that documentary about Mobile Suit Gundam, they said that when Gundam was coming out, it had this problem where no one was watching it. It was building a fan base pretty strongly, but slowly. So it got like a 3% viewership for its first like month or two. It just kind of bounced around there. So like, okay, we're gonna kill it, and then it rose slowly over time, but it wasn't enough to save it. But then there was a record label that was kind of selling mediocre, had mediocre sales for pretty much everything, and then they were just kind of trying everything. So they said, okay, this Gundam thing is starting to pick up some speed. It's like 2/3 of the way through their run or whatever. And so they said, let's release an album of Gundam music, and they said, and this is an era where they would sell a couple thousand copies. 10,000 copies would be a really strong sale. And they released the first album of Mobile Suit Gundam, and they sold 20,000 copies of an anime in the 70s. And they were like, what? So they went back to the fans and said, okay, this is awesome. What do you want? And they said, we want more of this. And also, by the way, the cover is really, really goofy. It's very cheesy, kiddie kind of, it's the Gundam in bright colors sort of charging at you. And they said, we honestly feel a little embarrassed going to the counter with this. So they released a second album. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Thank you. And they got some artwork from Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, the original character designer, and it's just Amuro standing there in his pilot uniform with his helmet behind him, just kind of looking at you with his haunted expression. And that sold 100,000 copies. And you're like, okay, people like this. And then they sold, model kits and action figures up the wazoo. And so that kind of built the audience because they were doing something so different and people were, coming for that. But it's hard to sell that new, new stuff. But yeah, Jay, I have not gotten a chance to go back and read the manga. I have it now, but I've not actually gone to compare the two. And of course, the manga is kind of a, it's kind of a remake, if you will. It's going back to saying, well, this was kind of the story we would have told, but then it's always hard to go back and say this is the story we would have told, because but the experience you were under also informed the story, so you can't just really rewind time. But yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting to compare those two. Same thing with Eva, obviously. Comparing the manga and kind of how the manga is structured and so forth to the TV series would be interesting at some point. As a reminder, we'll be watching more Eva tomorrow. Depending on how much time I have, we have, I think it's 8 episodes to go in the in Eva, so we might just finish it out. Yes, sadly, you missed anime news, JJ. It's basically all new anime announcements for stuff coming out in the fall and later on. New Pokemon anime coming and other stuff. Yeah, and that's the thing, is when you can go back and you can say, okay, this is the manga, this is the anime. It's why I stopped watching Ancient Magus' Bride, frankly, because the anime is an excellent adaptation of the manga, but it's pretty straight. It's like, this is the manga, and I'm like, but I'm reading the manga. Like, why would I copy that? So maybe one of these days I'll go back and compare them closer. And obviously they're not exactly the same. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's the thing, Jay, is that um, there's definitely differences between the fans' reaction to those things. Same thing with Shield Hero, actually. I know a lot of folks who are, or some folks who are like, yeah, the Shield Hero novels are really solid. And the anime is, no slouch, but that was a thing. Mm. Oh yeah, Manga Rocks is getting shut down. No, the folks behind Manga Rocks have decided to shut it down because they have come to the light and realized the the terrible effects of their bad illegal actions, aka they were caught, and now they're like, oh yeah, now that we might go to jail, we should probably stop doing this thing. After getting huge revenues from the site, it's like, yeah, and the statement sounded very lawyery, or at least very much filtered through a lawyer. Not that there's anything wrong with lawyers, right? But it wasn't just somebody saying, "Oh, you know what?" It's like, yeah, legal counsel was clearly involved. Um, but yeah, just scrolling up on the chat. Excuse me. Yeah, there was some news this week about uh, the lawsuit with Vic Mignogna and all that kind of stuff. But it's just that continues to spiral. There's just more incriminations back and forth. Apparently, one of the lawyers claimed to have filed a brief on a particular day, but there is like photo evidence of him being at a convention, half across the country the same day. And it's like, this, exactly, JJ. Lawyers exist for a reason. There's a really neat YouTube channel out there called Virtual Legality. It's by a video game lawyer, and he talks about different things going on in the video game world, especially, but also just in general, and kind of breaking down, if somebody threatens somebody else with a lawsuit or says this is illegal or this violates their terms of service, he will go in and say, okay, well, let's look at the actual text of their terms of service and break it down the way a lawyer would, and break it down the way a judge might look at it. And so obviously he's not saying this is necessarily how the court case would go, but he's providing that sort of lawyer's perspective on how well you can make a case for or against something. And it's really interesting. There's a whole thing about Red Dead Redemption 2 where the Pinkertons are basically the villains of the piece, one of the big villains of the game, and they sued for saying this is defamation because it portrayed it very negatively. And Rockstar apparently came back, the makers of the game, and said, no. Like Red Dead Redemption, is set in this very fictionalized Wild West. And the virtual legality guy came back and said, well, that's the thing. Like, it's true. Like, they fictionalized a lot of stuff, but they didn't fictionalize the Pinkertons. And yet they put them in the game, and spent plenty of time putting them in the game very clearly. And so it's kind of weird for them to do that in this very negative way, but the fact that everything else is fictionalized is actually kind of worse because you're clearly highlighting this real organization in a very negative way, while you were very careful to not do that with any other, Native American tribes or what have you. So, kind of interesting. Yeah, legal is actually one of the other things that that complicates anime as well. Licensing, all that stuff is kind of weird. Death Stranding, yeah. Death Stranding, unfortunately, cannot possibly live up to the hype. Death Stranding is going to get some negative reviews, and I'm very curious to see whether Death Stranding is one of those games that ends up with like an 80 sort of a Metacritic score, not because it's a bad game, but because people are like, this isn't the best game ever made. What the hell? Why wasn't this perfectly flawless in every way that I dreamed? It's like, well, nothing is. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting game, no question. That'll be my first game by that guy, which I forget his name now, which is kind of crazy. The Metal Gear Solid guy. Yeah. If I play it, I mean, I'm way behind on video games. Hoping to do some Hideo Kojima. Thank you, Game Escape. Durhey. I've seen like playthroughs of like Metal Gear Solid original things like that, and I can understand the appeal. But yeah, hoping to start a regular video game thing this Sunday or on Sundays rather. We will see how that goes. This is I'm actually fingering or just that's a playing around with this deck of cards, which is a list of all of the projects I want to complete at some point. Although, granted, about half of them are things for my role playing game kind of business, which I probably will never do. I need to sort through that at some point. But it's just kind of ideas for games and such. So my hope is over the course of 2019, I can get through this stack of cards and kind of get a lot of those ideas off the plate, and then have kind of that spare time to just relax and play video games and stream video games, that kind of stuff. Go back to that. Would love to stream some anime games, play around with that stuff. It was fun playing Akiba Strip, because that is kind of one of the most anime games I've ever played. But it's also long, it turns out. Like that is a fairly lengthy game. I mean, it's not 90 hours or anything, but I was expecting that to be more like a 10 to 20 hour game, but it's more like 40 or 50, I think. I was like, okay, oof, all right. Yeah, I cannot play the games like Battlefield 1. Those games, they will kill. And I learned, I tried playing like Halo online and just got annihilated back in the day. I just do not have the skill for that competitive multiplayer. Because I'm not 14 and I can't come home and spend 8 hours a day playing these games. It's just not going to be me. If I had some friends to run around and play with, that'd be cool. And I will say I had some great experience with Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter World, the PS4 game. Not only was that kind of a fun, slightly anime-esque game in the sense of kind of the character archetypes and the voice acting and such, but the community was really awesome. Of just if I was out there and I blew that horn to get some folks in, people would jump into that session and just help me out and fight the monster. It was really cool. But I didn't really have I didn't have 3 other people who played the game to raid with. So one of these days, hopefully, here on the YouTube channel, we'll find enough people who want to play like the same video game together, and we can all get together and play some video game. Totally. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Game Escape. Halo is definitely a fun game solo, or the Halo games in general. That's interesting, Jay. Picking a genre and a subgenre, and then finding an anime that fits those themes. There's a Wild West anime. It's pretty cool. Shuffle. Ah. We started playing here on the YouTube channel years ago. What's the Canon? Kanon. We started playing that here on the stream, and I think it was one of the, work safe versions of the game. Had somebody really freak out that I was doing that, actually. Really weird. But it'd be fun to play some visual novels here on the stream. Don't know if we get blocked for the music or what, but it'd be interesting. Playthrough. And the idea is we were doing a playthrough completely blind, so I would kind of do whatever we wanted. When a choice came up, I would kind of ask folks, what do you think? And we would choose whatever seemed like the most reasonable option at the time. That was kind of fun, knowing there's just no way we'd win. But fun to just do a kind of a random playthrough of a thing. Do some of those classic visual novels, experience them. But again, some of those are pretty long. So it's not like we can just go in for 2 or 3 hours and get through a visual novel. Yeah, so maybe one of these days soon we can do that and just get through some of these stories. I think we'd also have to kind of figure out. I had to figure out the kind of the tone to take, because I'd like to do that in a way that's more upbeat and fun, where it's not just okay, click, listen, talk, whatever. I'd love to have me and everyone in here. Might not be a bad thing to do. Actually, during the live stream. Yeah, I'll wait YouTube strikes probably. So maybe Friday nights after we're done with all this stuff, we hop on and do like half an hour of a visual novel. Be kind of fun. Tokimeki Memorial would definitely be one of the ones to go for. It's definitely one of the great classics. I like to play To Heart at some point. Obviously, Canon, Clannad. Those are some of the big ones for me. I actually kind of like to go back to some of like the really early ones. Oh, was it on the Discord that a while back that folks shared links to? Like, there's some website that has a whole bunch of like 80s visual novels, or maybe like early 90s visual novels. Must have been just there on the site. You can just click on them and select them and go. It was really cool. Extremely uncensored. Just very much adult visual novels. So I would not stream those. I chose one that just seemed like a kind of generic visual novel, and then, literally 10 minutes in, it was some very hardcore stuff just out of nowhere. So yeah, that was all right. Why will anime not die? Because anime is a very resilient medium. Anime is made by people who love doing it and adore doing it, and that continues to be true. And fortunately, Japan is a country of people, a country that contains people who really adore this medium. And so, anime will change. It will have different. It'll take different forms over time. But anime is a thing. Anime is a force. It is not easy to beat it down. People have tried before. CD Romance, cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun playing those games, but also just glad I wasn't streaming. It's like okay. All right, folks. As always, this has been a blast. Thank you very much. I think I'm gonna go and crash, just conk out here. We'll be back next week, as always. Hope you can join me tomorrow for more Evangelion. We'll maybe finish out that show, maybe not. We'll see. But we'll get a few more episodes in, at least. We can absolutely talk about rental stores next time. That's an interesting topic. So, yeah. Thank you all very much. Hope you have a great weekend and a great week. Till next time, watch more anime.